the warring parties, and of course, homes and properties looted.
Our findings describe a country where the rule of law has collapsed and impunity has prevailed over the centuries. Courts deliver selective justice without offering fair trials, adequate protection, and effective remedies to victims and survivors. We concluded that Sudan is currently unwilling and unable to conduct genuine investigation or prosecution for international crimes. Our report therefore sets out a path to justice through inclusive Sudanese dialogue, relying on 4 interconnected pillars: truth, justice, reparations, and institutional reforms.
Well, the upcoming presidential, legislative, regional and municipal elections in the Central African Republic will be a turning point to extend and consolidate state authority as well as anchor institutional stability in the country. This is according to the UN Special Representative of the Secretary General for the CAR, Valentine Rogwabiza. She was presenting the Secretary General's report on the nation to the Security Council. According to her, the peace process has regained momentum and witnessed significant progress since the ceasefire agreements facilitated by Chad and signed in April between the Central African Government and the UPC and the 3R armed groups.
The peace process has regained momentum and witnessed significant progress since the 19th April ceasefire agreement, which was facilitated by Chad and signed between the Central African Government and the 2 most active armed groups in the country, namely Unité pour la paix en Centrafrique, UPC, and the Retour, Réclamation et Réhabilitation, 3R. 11 of the 14 of the armed group signatories to the political agreement have now officially dissolved. The implementation of the 19th April agreement and subsequent disarmament and demobilization operations have translated in tangible security gains in several areas in the center and northwest of the country. Since July 2025, MINUSCA provided enhanced support to the national entity responsible for disarmament and demobilization, enabling immediate disarmament operations in several prefectures. MINUSCA's logistical, security, and technical support resulted in over 700 UPC, 3R, and anti-Balaka element combatants being disarmed and demobilized since July 2025. The latest report of the Secretary.
Now to post-election updates. Multiple educational and public structures have been damaged and set on fire in the northeastern town of Garua following recent unrest in Cameroon. Mass demonstrations erupted across the nation this week over the disputed presidential election, leading to deadly clashes in several areas. According to local media reports, at least 4 people have been killed and dozens injured since the protests began. Among the dead is a young child who had gone out with friends on the day of the presidential election results were announced. The unrest follows the announcement of President Paul Biya's re-election, which extends his rule to more than 40 years. Opposition figures and human rights groups have accused the elections in Cameroon of fraud, intimidation, and vote manipulation. Meanwhile, Cameroonian opposition leader Issa Chiroma has announced a new plan of action, calling on his supporters to shut down the country for 3 days next week. In an audio message shared online, Mr. Chiroma urged citizens to cease all activities on November 3rd, 4th and 5th as part of what he called a nationwide ghost town protest. He adds that his supporters should remain calm during the period but determined vowing that their victory will not be stolen. In the message, Mr. Chiroma also said he had been exfiltrated from his home, where he had been holed up since the election, and he's been taken to a secure location by what he describes as loyalist soldiers for his protection. Well, in Tanzania, protests have escalated in major cities across the country as opposition supporters denounced Wednesday's presidential and parliamentary elections as a sham. Hundreds of demonstrators also crossed into Kenyan territory, barricading roads, lighting bonfires and tearing down posters of President Samia Suluhu Hassan. According to the Kenyan police, 2 people have been killed after fleeing battles with Tanzanian police. Protesters are accusing the government of undermining democracy as the main opposition leader remains in jail and another prominent opposition figure was disqualified from the election, bolstering President Samia's chances of retaining power. Early results from state media showed the incumbent president with a sweeping lead, but observers have condemned the election as neither free nor fair. Well, the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, NIDCOM, is felicitating with Nigerian-born University of Ibadan graduate Professor Idayat Owolabi on her historic achievement. Professor Owolabi was recently awarded the title of Commander of the British Empire, CBE, in the King's Birthday Honours 2025 for her outstanding contributions to the health sector, as announced on October 10, 2025. The NIDCOM boss, Honorable Abike Dabirerewa, has hailed Professor Owolabi's success as a source of immense pride for Nigerians, both at home and in the diaspora. She emphasized that recognizing such accomplishments helps reshape global perceptions and perspectives and highlights the positive impact of Nigerians in diverse fields. Throughout her career, Professor Owolabi said to have demonstrated professionalism and serves as an exemplary ambassador for Nigeria. Well, let's take a break now on Network Africa. Still to come on the program. On our Africa Tech segment, the continent's premier artificial intelligence trade show and conference is underway in South Africa. Please join us again. Welcome back to the program. Kenyan human rights activists are protesting in Nairobi, urging the government to take action to secure the release of missing Kenyan activists Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo. The demonstrators criticize what they call the Kenyan government's inaction and silence, holding placards reading, "Bring them home, KE," even as security forces monitored the demonstrations. Kenyan activists Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo have disappeared in Uganda, with reports suggesting they were abducted in late September while attending a regional civil society meeting. Pressure from human rights organizations has since mounted on the governments of both Kenya and Uganda.
Free Bob Njagi! Free Bob Njagi! Back in Kenya, this is our
more than 1 month after the abduction of Bob Njagi, more than 1 month after the abduction of Nicholas Oyo, the government is yet to do anything. The minister is not in office. He has turned the Ministry of Foreign Affairs into a Ministry of Holiday Affairs. If this government is abdicating its responsibility to take care of people, Kenyans, who are abducted outside the country, then the Kenyan people must take action into their own hands and force the government into action, because we are tired of asking where our comrades are more than 1 month after abduction. And so what we are saying is that by next week, if they will not have been brought back, if the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will not have engaged the government of Uganda, together with other social movements and human rights NGOs, we are going to escalate to strategic and mass street protests.
Our government is quiet. So we feel that our government has failed us, and the government has also betrayed us, because it is in the constitution, it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that the citizens are protected within the borders and beyond the borders. We are having some concerning and pressing informations that one is that the Oyo and Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo have been tortured and they are unconscious. We also got some rumors, they are unverified, that could be that one of them is already dead. Arrest us. So that's why we are addressing the media, and then we see the way forward.
U.S. President Donald Trump's administration has announced the lowest refugee admission cap in the country's history, limiting entry to just 7,500 people for the fiscal year 2026. In the presidential document published, the Trump administration indicates that the U.S. refugee system would remain largely closed to the millions of people around the world fleeing unsafe conditions. Instead, priority for the 7,500 available slots would be given to white Afrikaners from South Africa. The filings also indicate that the Trump administration would narrow the groups that handle refugee services moving forward. A South African court has ruled that Nobel laureate Albert Luthuli's 1967 death was the result of an assault by apartheid police, overturning decades of claims that it was an accident. An inquest held under the apartheid government had concluded that Luthuli, the first African to win the Nobel Peace Prize, died after being struck by a freight train while walking along a railway line. However, activists and his family had long cast doubt on those findings, prompting South Africa's government to reopen the case earlier this year. A judge has now ruled that the anti-apartheid hero died as a result of a fractured skull and a cerebral hemorrhage consistent with an assault. His family has welcomed the judgment, calling it the first part of finally getting justice. The Socio-Economic Rights Institute of South Africa, SIRI, has taken the city of Johannesburg to court over the removal of street traders in the city. This is as the city of Joburg has embarked on a clean-up operation ahead of the G20 summit next month. SIRI, which is representing traders, is accusing the government of violating their constitutional right to earn a living. While Johannesburg City Mayor Dada Morero says he is hopeful that the court will rule in the city's favor.
So going to court between ourselves as the city and SIRI in relation to the cleanup campaign in the inner city. So we hope that the court will be lenient and understand the interventions that we are trying to do in restoring and reclaiming our inner city. Keep it clean, keep it nice. At the same time, ensure that we support small SMMEs, street traders, and demarcate them in the right places and give them the necessary support as the city, from ensuring that we help them with setting up businesses, setting up financial statements, and all those things that we continue to provide to small business. So to residents, hopefully the court will be lenient and create a platform that we can work better between the city and the small street traders.
Welcome to our Africa Tech segment. Africa's premier artificial intelligence and intelligent automation trade show and conference is underway in Johannesburg, South Africa. Organizers say the event connects enterprise buyers with both local and global suppliers and features the inaugural United Nations AI for Good Impact Africa, held under the theme Curating a World-Class Program from Global and Local Thought Leaders. Our South Africa correspondent Innocent Samosa has more.
From real-world case studies to tech demos, organizers says the event aims to engage delegates on the current and emerging state of the art, showcasing best practices available, technologies, cloud platforms, deployment challenges, and ethical considerations, all while highlighting Africa's vibrant innovation and startup ecosystem driving the industry forward.
Yeah, basically we founded the event in 2018. It was in response to the fact there was no real business event focused on connecting buyers and suppliers, investors and startups. So we started in Cape Town with about 700 people. And after COVID, the event grew here in Johannesburg. This is the 4th edition we've done in Johannesburg, the 8th in total. And I think we're around 3,500 delegates registered so far, and a much bigger speaking program, workshop program. We do CPD certified training courses. So yeah, it's grown over the time, but it's grown a lot faster after COVID.
Delegates say African governments and tech innovators must ensure that AI development aligns with the continent's social, ethical, and cultural values while still promoting innovation.
One thing to understand is at our core, we believe in ownership for our clients. We don't believe that you should be renting your AI, you should own your AI, and we provide a solution to do that. So in this case, we really believe that Africa should be sovereign and that they should not have to rely on foreign entities for their incredible AI tools and usage.
And these are some of the African countries he's eyeing.
But South Africa obviously is a big one, which is why we're here. And in Western Africa, Nigeria and Ghana are very interested in what we're doing.
I mean, for us personally, as I mentioned, that we're from the UK, but we have people over here in Africa that we're working with. One of the goals that we want to do is we want to employ locally, so we're not going to be bringing people over from the UK to turn around and do all of the work over here. It will all be everything local, training people.
He says AI development is critically important and has the potential to address challenges in health, agriculture, education, and climate change.
So our software you can use for any business. It can be for personal, it can be for your business, it can be for your enterprise. The reason is because the AI understands by looking at your data and give you solutions instead of having to just prompt.
As Africa positions itself to harness the power of artificial intelligence, the message is clear. Innovation must go hand in hand with responsibility, ensuring that technology serves the continent's people and progress. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent.
And as we end the program today, here's our fun fact about the continent. Did you know that the Nile Delta in Egypt is Africa's largest river delta, stretching over 140 miles along the Mediterranean coast? It is a very fertile area where the Nile spreads out before reaching the sea. The delta is home to many wetlands, lakes and wildlife, including migratory birds and fishes. Local communities rely on it for farming and fishing. For thousands of years, the Nile Delta has been at the heart of Egyptian civilization, providing food, trade routes, and fertile land for crops. Well, today, it remains a vital part of Egypt's economy and its culture. That's it on the program for today and for the week. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olarinde. Have a lovely weekend.